Are we due for a correction? And can anything stop Render Metaverse tokens? Want to find out? Stay right here. All the news, all the charts, all the time. If you need a roadmap in crypto, subscribe to this channel. Turn on alerts so you know when we're going live. And if you like the content, hit the thumbs up button. Okay, I am your host, Bill Noble, and we are going to get right into the chat here. King is here. Yappy from Finland is here, voting for me for president. Richard Barry, Steve J, Robert, welcome. Welcome to the show. All right, I'm going to jump right in. East Tennessee in the house. It looks like I may have lost the ability to see comments. So the last comment I got is from Richard Barry. So if I can't see you, I will have my producer flash it up on the screen. Okay, I am jumping right into the news. China starts surgical retaliation against foreign companies. There's going to be a geopolitical event in September. A lot of people think it's Ukraine. Okay, I've got some shocking news about Ukraine. Seymour Hersh is out with an article saying that Zelensky is actually using our money to buy oil from Russia, making them, Russians, rich in the process. He's also saying, according to this source that I have, who I respect, Hersh is reporting a huge rift between the U.S. intelligence community and the White House. So, you know, the U.S. in total disarray regarding Ukraine policy opens up a window for China to act. That may be in June. That may be in September. Now, the next huge debacle, Schwab. Okay. Schwab and State Street Bank report bank deposit outflows. Okay. As people seek higher revenue. I used to work at Schwab. Customers can get really nervous about FDIC insurance. Schwab does a lot of CDs that are issued by banks. They do a lot of things, but they make it really easy, right? And really free and really cheap, and the service is awesome, but they don't pay you anything on the money you keep in Schwab. They don't, or at least not when I was there. Okay, and then they take that money and reinvest it somewhere else, making the company essentially a giant interest rate hedge fund. So if you wonder why Schwab has won J.D. Power awards for excellence every single year for the last 5 years, that's how they've done it. They offer everything for free, and the firm's profitability comes from, you know, essentially managing interest rates. Bloomberg reports Schwab leaders say firm can withstand storm after deposit drain. Does that sound familiar to you? Does that sound like, don't worry, everything is okay? When they tell you everything is okay, it's not okay. When they're hysterical and calling for CZ's head, when Bitcoin was at 16K, that's when you get optimistic. This is bad. And this could be the October blow-up. Don't blow this off. Bank of England considers major reforms or deposit guarantee. Okay? UK's financial compensation scheme faces review after the failure of Silicon Valley Bank. I mean, if the Fed can't guarantee $17 trillion in deposits, I don't know how these guys can guarantee whatever is in the UK banking system. Because remember, it's a very small country with a very big financial system. US dollar, here's some real comedy for you this morning. US dollar may lose its dominance if nations are sanctioned, warns Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen. Well, first of all, Russia invaded Ukraine. My attitude was, believe it or not, if we're going to fight with the Russians, we should fight with the Russians, as in fight. Using sanctions, using the dollar as a weapon, using cancel culture against the Russians was exactly what Putin wanted us to do. We walked right into a trap. We had higher oil prices. He cut off the supply of fertilizer. He cut off wheat exports out of Ukraine, causing an inflation problem that the Fed can't solve. Meanwhile, they've been weaponizing the dollar now for years. Years. I mean, they were weaponizing the dollar under multiple other administrations. The prior administration actually took it to a whole new level. So now the media is filled with, everybody dumped the dollar. The French president is on the tape going, let's dump America. That's not really new coming from the French, but now the funny thing about this is the Treasury, I believe, is the one in charge of enforcing the sanctions. They're the one who cut people out of SWIFT, either them or the Fed, and Janet is a crossover person. So, you should not weaponize the dollar. It's a privilege to be the world's reserve currency, so they want to weaponize the dollar. Oh, okay. Well, it's to be expected that people go the other way, and obviously Yellen is nervous. Now, what's not on this slide is that Yellen is probably worried that money is not flowing from overseas to buy U.S. treasuries. She has mentioned a lack of liquidity multiple times and offered the banking system assistance, essentially in managing the massive amount of debt that Uncle Sam issues. Okay, let's talk about the Fed. Let's do something contrarian, right? We're all assuming that the Fed is going to hike rates until they break things, but they have to stop hiking rates because of Silicon Valley. What happened to Silicon Valley Bank? The Fed hiked rates anyway. There are some serious indications on charts that the Fed could continue higher rates for longer. My boss thinks the terminal rate, meaning the rate where the Fed stops tightening, is like 9%. My personal opinion is if something like that goes on, it's going to mean a loss of credibility in U.S. long-term bonds. Now, what can we get from Gann or Astrology or Gann's planetary analysis to validate whether or not the Fed should continue or won't continue? The hybrid solar eclipse on April 23rd, which up until now has benefited Bitcoin because it means out with the old and in with the new, could be a game changer for the economy and the Fed, as it forms a conjunction with Mercury, the planet of communication and commerce. According to Gann, a legendary trader, hybrid solar eclipse can signal major trend changes in the market. Okay? Mercury, the planet of logic and analysis, could influence the Fed's decision-making and communication. So don't laugh, but the Fed may get tough. The Fed may continue to raise interest rates higher than anyone thinks, okay, as it continues to see inflation pressure, okay? Now, I've taken this voodoo to a whole new level, started pulling things called tarot cards. Laugh if you want, but the one I got said today represents resilience and perseverance, and it could suggest that the Fed may face resistance for its hawkish stance, but it would not back down. This is ChatGPT's analysis of both the planetary movements, the eclipse, and the card I pulled out. The market may need to be prepared, vigilant, and adaptable. Crypto could correct in the second half of April. So I think crypto could be there for the next 10 days. The bid off the hybrid solar eclipse is basically done. So crypto could be slumping or corrective. I was enthusiastic about altcoins, but I was also saying that altcoins may function in these like spikes. You won't get alt season, you'll get alt spikes. I was thinking maybe 10 days. It lasted 10 hours. Okay? Something to be careful of. Elon Musk claims the U.S. government had full access to private Twitter DMs. The thing that scares me about this is that they were doing censorship subtly via the social media companies, and now they may have to do it overtly. This may all just be a prelude to the government attacking the internet, which is going to be something that eventually gives you a chunky dip in crypto. So every time Musk comes out with something that says the government was doing it covertly, I'm wondering if they're going to start doing it overtly. Okay, Apple launches a savings account with a 4% interest rate through Goldman Sachs. This looks like Goldman Sachs made a huge mistake getting involved in consumer business, in the consumer side, offering credit for Apple products. And this looks like desperation to try to keep money flowing into Apple, into Goldman via Apple. I don't know who's going to put money in the bank at 4% rather than doing Bitcoin or gold, especially since gold is dipping. This whole thing about the Fed and higher rates, we'll go over the charts in a minute, I mean, works massively in favor of owning crypto or alternative assets, not putting money in a bank. This reeks of weakness. It's not a position that Goldman is normally in. Okay, so Ethereum squeezed everybody out post-Shanghai. I did some work on my Twitter. Not as popular as it used to be. So this intersection of lines was a signal that you were going to get this huge rally. Interesting how the Gann line predicted what was going to happen off Shanghai. I was like, I didn't know if honestly I could be that bold, but that's what happened. Now there's a whole bunch of Gann resistance at 2150. And it looks like, 1950 to 2150 could be the consolidation range in ETH. So you may get people shaking out here. And it's like, oh, great. If you get it. I don't see any reason right now why not to be patient. Representative to introduce legislation to fire SEC boss Gary Gensler. Okay. Truly unbelievable that Gensler is saying, here's the tweet. He says, yes, it was definitely the villainous hedge funds who overstimulated the economy, then were late to raise rates, then raised them very quickly, then failed to regulate an obviously incompetent bank, Silicon Valley Bank, and then bailed out the VC depositors. U.S. regulator calls for greater scrutiny of hedge funds after bond turmoil. I mean, do these guys have any shame at all? Any? Do they have any shame at all? Well, the answer to that is no, because they're charging Bitrex now, okay, with operating an unregistered securities exchange. Again, they're just picking on anybody that they can find. Centralized stablecoins are problematic. Is a decentralized alternative on the way? Who is going to do a decentralized stablecoin? I don't know. It better be backed by treasuries. And the question is the Fed and the Treasury going to allow a decentralized stablecoin? I actually think, this is just my opinion, the Fed's job and the Treasury's job is to manage the dollar. Now, Ethereum is not a security. Bitcoin is definitely not a security. Okay. However, somebody trying to make a version of the dollar, I can see how that could be a problem. Central banks are like, yo, wait a minute. This is our job. Now, nobody wants a CBDC, but a decentralized stablecoin, and that's going to avoid regulation. It sounds good, right? Sounds good. Man, I would think there'd be a lot more regulatory risk there. Speaking of risk, Shaquille O'Neal finally served the FTX lawsuit. Okay. Lawyers claimed he was hiding and driving away from process servers. No end to this FTX carnage. No end to the laughability of the FTX carnage, because that was the moment where everyone gave up on crypto right at the dawn. Now, this is kind of funny. Bitcoin could peak at 45K in May, analysts said. I'm pretty sure I was doing some of that with ChatGPT last week on Friday or Thursday. saying if there was a May rally that, Bitcoin could go past 32K or even 34K. And the great news is, I think because there's going to be a Fed scare, you're going to get an opportunity to buy it. I don't know if it's going to be a sideways range, but yeah, the ultimate target for Bitcoin could be a lot higher than anybody thinks, especially because of this whole Schwab thing, right? Go back to the Schwab thing. I mean, do you know how easy it is on Schwab's website to move money from Schwab to Fidelity and vice versa? Oh my God, it's like a click of a button. Now, why is Fidelity important? Well, Fidelity allows people to buy Bitcoin. And Fidelity, I'm assuming, is not running itself as an interest rate hedge fund to the point where they have to get on the tape and tell everybody everything is okay, because we all know what that means. Okay. See, am I getting any new? Oh, I am getting comments now. Language trainer, pancakes and peanut butter. Welcome. Okay. Okay. Donato is here. GLDN. Yes. GLDN has not been trading well, but remember, anybody who's had to sell any cryptocurrency to pay their taxes will be done tomorrow morning. Willimeter from East Tennessee. Okay. Aiken talking about Mercury in retrograde. Yes. Mercury can mess things up and create problems with communications. And we've already covered, people may not be hearing what the Fed is saying. If the Fed doesn't care what it breaks, that benefits crypto long-term, but it can create corrections and dips short-term, which you should be drooling over. Kim Craig is here. Bull Runner, Luis, Aaron, Bo Rabbit, welcome. Justin, right? Mad Love from Germany. Arafat, Laughing Dolphin from the UK. Crypto Crazy, Smashville. Forget about it. Okay? Mr. Moby Dick, Steve J, Robert, okay, King. Let's jump into PowerPoint. Some pretty decent PowerPoint with some focus on legacy. Okay, this is stuff you need to see. Okay, here it comes. Tax day. You got until tomorrow. ProBitcoinSolutions.com/Noble. The link is down below. Instead of being $40 per chain, it's $20. So per coin, they'll figure out your taxes, $20 per coin, and then give you a $50 discount on a report, because I'm assuming at this point, you're filing your own taxes, right? If you got to file your taxes yourself, these guys give you the report to file with the return for $150. The link is down below. Interest rates, 30-year bond weekly. Looks like a pennant formation to me. Now, normally pennants don't work in crypto. Okay, but this clearly looks like a bull flag in long-term interest rates. One of the things that I think people are forgetting is that the bond market is pricing in a recession. Now, yes, unemployment's a disaster, and so is commercial real estate. But there are other components of the economy that appear strong. And I just got done spending the weekend at the grocery store, and it's shocking. It's shocking. And really, the only way to fix inflation is with the rise in long-term interest rates. So if the bond yield starts going up, that could create a correction in crypto. Now, let's talk about equities and fear. VIX on a 4-hour chart has just closed below its bottom Bollinger Band. A Bollinger Band represents, how far things could stretch out based on current volatility in English. Realized and implied volatility on S&P are at the lowest levels in 15 months. In other words, there's very little fear in equities. So tons of greed in crypto, no fear in equities, right? Interesting. Stocks. You got negative candlesticks up here. You got this doji and a squat bar, followed by what could be a bearish engulfing pattern today, okay, with Williams oscillator close to zero. Okay, so I don't know that this is the prettiest picture for stocks. And I don't know if you woke up one day and saw stonks lower, that wouldn't hurt crypto. I kind of hope stonks just sit here, kind of like it did over here, maybe buy us a little time, but I think there's too much greed in crypto and too little fear in equities. And that could just sort of like straighten itself out. Now let's go to Bitcoin. Bitcoin on a daily chart, there is a 13 and a 9 top at the same time. Okay. And hang on one second. Hang on. Okay, sorry, that's laughable. All right, there's a 13 and a 9 top. This new high was not confirmed in a new high in the DeMark oscillator. Bitcoin may wind up testing 29K, 29.8. I know that's not really a lot, but it could happen. Total 3. Now, this is what gets really interesting. Total 3 broke out of a long-term like regression pattern. Okay, now if total 3 comes down and holds, that's great. Maybe we get a sideways range for the next 10 days, and I'd be very happy with that. Very happy with sideways. Matter of fact, sideways in crypto is bullish, right? Particularly if it allows Bitcoin and maybe Ethereum enough time to build up steam. I still think it's going to be Bitcoin on the upside once this resumes. Got to be careful of this Fed thing, man. Scares the daylights out of me. Okay, gold. Pains me to say it, but gold has made 1, 2, 3 new highs, and it's got, it's got lower highs on the momentum indicator. Now, of course, if gold holds here, it's ridiculously bullish, and that would be just fine with me. Just fine. However, with these interest rate charts, you got to ask yourself, retail investors were paying any price for gold, and even if it is the right trade, sometimes people do the right trade in the wrong location. The right trade in the wrong location. So this gold trade is the right trade. You may be able to get it once this oversold or overbought RSI condition is relieved, either with a range, okay, or a decline because people freak out about the Fed, right? Because people freak out about the Fed. Now, okay, and that is the PowerPoint version of the market update. Okay, let's go to live TA. Okay, so here's Cardano, right? So we talked about this as a nice looking breakout, but we're headed for a 9 top. Okay, so maybe this is the dip in Cardano. Maybe, right? Not sharing screen. Okay, maybe this is the dip in Cardano. Let's look at a 4-hour chart. Okay, now the good news is there was no 13 top in Cardano. So upside here is possible. I think a range is more likely. Okay, render. We talked about this earlier. Okay, let me see if I can get render up on DeMark to see where that trend is. Okay, so there's a 9 top on render on the 4-hour chart. Okay, honestly, not much of a sign of this stopping. Let's look at a daily chart. All right, now here's one word of caution. So here's the 13 top, and here's the blow-off top. If it's above, say, 198, you can say, okay, this thing broke out, but man, look at all this resistance up here. So they did a great job of ramming this thing higher, but you're going to have a 13 and a 9 top. So if you've been, if you bought this at 60 cents or you bought it at 50 cents, I don't think this is going to fall out of bed or anything, but you may want to take your money if something's up 15% in one day with the rest of the market down, right? With the rest of the market down. Okay. Okay. Lots of people talking about Chainlink today. Okay. So Chainlink has done very well on the daily chart. Tomorrow's going to be a 9 top. Okay. 4-hour chart is not here nor there, and you've got a 13 top on the 90-minute. My guess is that Chainlink is doing a catch-up rally and may wind up at 835, assuming that the crypto market doesn't fall out of bed. Okay. Chainlink, however, again, if you look at the daily chart, it's kind of headed for a 9 top right at resistance. So you may get a spurt to 835, but, you know, let's draw this support and resistance line just to see where we are. So Chainlink up there at that February high. Okay. A lot of good things to say about Chainlink in terms of DeFi, but I don't know that you want to buy it at the top of a move when there's sort of an uncertainty, rangy period coming in Chainlink, right? Okay, QNT going in the opposite direction. So strangely, this can't rally. So on a 4-hour chart, this is actually well below support. I'm not really seeing much sign that that's going to stop. Okay, now here's the good news at the tactical level. Okay, if you liked QNT, there's a 13 bottom on the 90-minute chart. So on a very short-term picture, you know, this may go back up again. This may go back up again. A graph. Yeah, I mean, the graph has broken above some resistance. So the ceiling is now the floor. And there's going to be a 9 top, but there may be a pause and a dip. So the person is asking, you know, can we hold? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you just have to be advised that, you know, the second you see interest rates really start moving up, then you gotta, you know, you gotta think about your position. Okay. Someone's asking me where the best support is in QNT. Okay. The best support, if it gets ugly, is 114. That's where you could say, all right, if it's above that, if it touches that and comes back up, it would be constructive. Okay, Polkadot, again, you know, it's really hard for me to be bearish Polkadot. It hits this support and bounces. You know, I know this is not very exciting, and I know there's probably a 9 top coming at resistance at 685. So, you know, I can't love it based on that. But when I go to the weekly chart, I mean, you would expect a dip. When you look at this DeMark work, you know, the 1, 2, 3, 4, that's a trend starting, right? You know, you may wind up getting a dip on the 4. You usually do. So if I was going to buy a dip in anything like this week, it might be Polkadot, and you might be able to be patient and wait for a deeper dip. Arweave. Okay, on a weekly chart, sitting on support. On a daily chart at resistance. You got to be careful in some of these altcoins when you put this 9 top in where it is when it puts in the 9 top. Now, I did not cover Ethereum. Okay, so the good news is that ETH broke through this resistance up here at 2034. Now, you could have 2 positive up days in ETH because there could be a 9 top. There could be a 13 top in 3 days, maybe. Okay, I don't see some urgent need. I don't necessarily see an urgent need to be like, dump this, but there's a 13 top. There's a blow off top. That 5 means a 5 wave top. Okay. And, you know, if the correction gets really deep, which I kind of doubt, but if it gets really deep, it could be 1867. Right. Basically, they could take this whole merge rally and unwind it because people FOMO'd in. And I said this last week, just as a point of information. If you own billions upon billions of dollars in ETH and you needed to sell it, the first thing you would do is ram it up to try to get a liquidity event going and get retail and CTAs and whoever piling in. Okay. Steve J is asking, sell in May invalidated with the opening of the Hong Kong markets in June. Good question. So I think sell in May is a sell at the end of May, or maybe on the new moon on May 18th. So I think it's a late sell in May. And just remember, like Coinbase IPO, Bitcoin ETF, Bitcoin futures back in 2017. When you have a new opening of a new market and new liquidity coming in, that's usually the high, and it usually goes straight down. Straight down. So it's a great, great question. Okay. Bitcoin weekly on the DeMark charts. So, this seems solid. You got probably minimum 3 more up weeks. Conceptually, right? Now, I don't think the second half of April is going to be any great shakes. So you may get like 2 weeks of sideways, a dip, and then in May, I think it's going to go. Okay, someone's asking about GPT. I'm assuming we're talking about CryptoGPT. Just make sure I got the right symbol, CryptoGPT token. Okay, so I know somebody who likes this. What I can say about GPT, this is a 4-hour chart. I've heard the fundamentals. It's interesting. This is not investment advice. However, this is a pretty good looking base right on top of the 62% retracement at 0.067. So if this is the bigger the base and the higher in the space, this is very interesting. If there is an AI trade out there, it may be this. Okay, a lot of people talking about Doge and baby Doge today. They bring up Doge on a... Tried to bring up Doge on a show the other day, got absolutely slammed. I don't know. I think you got 2 more up days on the daily chart of Doge. I understand this currency is inflationary, and that's why it's sort of not that great. There's a lot of resistance at 0.09. Frankly, I don't see a reason why that would not get tested, except if you have higher interest rates and general altcoin crappiness to go with it. So if you turn around and look at SHIB, which has also been getting some attention of late, okay, you've probably got 1 more up day. And the thing with SHIB is the old floor now looks to be the ceiling. So SHIB does not look exciting to me. It looks better. Doge looks better. Okay, ICP coming in. Okay, let's maybe look at a weekly. Okay, a weekly chart shows the trend as just starting. Okay, but that doesn't mean it goes up this week. It means it may build up steam and then go. But, and I don't see anything stopping ICP necessarily on the daily chart. I'm sorry, on the 4-hour chart. Right? If anything, it looks like that prior high from the pre-Celsius debacle on March 4th is actually acting as support. They've attacked this a couple different times. So, to the extent that this altcoin can hold and then turn around and go up if things stay, things stay simple, meaning, there's no complicated Fed debacle, I think you have to be careful about legacy. Legacy means out with the old, in with the new. So we did in with the new. We could wind up doing out with the old as in legacy. Okay, Avalanche, near and dear to my heart. I would want to see it close above 2073. Just be advised, you probably got a 9 top in 2 days. Okay, but if you get a breakout above this line, and then Avalanche holds, this line is like 2073. No, 2073. Okay, so sometimes altcoins rush up and then come back. If it holds above 2073, it could be a stealth breakout. Could be. Right? I don't know that I'm excited to rush in, particularly after you get this type of a spike. I would rather let the 9 top come, let the dip that follows the 9 top come, then reevaluate whether or not on that dip you should be buying. I don't know that I want to buy green candles right now. MMC John says legacy about to blow up. Yeah, it could, man. It seriously could. I mean, if you look at this, I mean, this is Stocks Daily. So we did this live TA style earlier. I'm sorry, we did it in PowerPoint. Okay, you got a lot of resistance up here. You got a lot of resistance up here, and interest rates are rising. Now, one other thing that I think is interesting, just while I'm doing it, speaks to the geopolitical situation in Ukraine potentially, is wheat. So here's a diamond formation. It was awful. Everybody got long. Everybody got stopped out. Terrible. And then it broke out basically right on the apex of the diamond. Right on the apex. Okay. This could be very bullish wheat. And wheat, I think there's Gann work that shows wheat could actually do really well. Really well. Okay. Really well. Okay. Solana. Okay. Somebody wants to know where Solana would be if Bitcoin was at 100K. Okay, so let's try Solana BTC. So this is Solana versus Bitcoin. And I guess to answer this question, we should look at this on a weekly chart. And oh, by the way, folks, this is a really good idea, one way or the other. It's a really good idea to be looking at whatever coin you're looking at versus Bitcoin. So Solana versus Bitcoin, there's a 13 and a 9 bottom on the weekly. And last week's rally in Solana confirmed the bottom. So what I would say is whatever Bitcoin does, Solana can do too. And in May, the rising tide of Bitcoin may lift altcoins along with it. Because I think, again, when you look at this, don't tell me that Web3 is no good. I mean, yeah, risk assets may wind up getting killed in October. Okay. But don't tell me that, Apple in bed with Goldman Sachs and Schwab telling you everything is all right is bearish for Solana. Yes, Chainlink was discussed. Chainlink has done well. I've seen a lot of positive things about Chainlink. Chainlink is a very powerful thing, or was a very powerful thing back in the days of DeFi. Chainlink is essentially money used to buy software. So if you're looking for, a parabolic move in Chainlink, you would have to have the SEC off DeFi's case. Right? That's at least what I'm thinking. Okay. Enjin Coin. Okay. I'm also interested in art. I am. Okay. Enjin Coin has to get above 48 cents. It's got to get above 48 cents. Right now, it's not. Okay. Cuboid is here. Good evening. Okay. Near protocol. Oh, let's do Litecoin first. I am interested in the DeMark work on Litecoin. I wanted to pull this up. So interesting that there's no 13 top in Litecoin. You're probably going to have a 9 top. Okay. Which means there's going to be a pullback. Now, you did have a 13 top on the 4-hour chart. It did have a monster blow off top to the blow off top level associated. There was a 5-wave top. So I don't think you have to be in a big hurry to buy Litecoin. That doesn't mean I don't like Litecoin. It just means I don't think you have to buy it when it's up. I say let this 9 top come in and see if you can get a flush. Difficult, tricky time in bull markets, right? You know, there's resistance up here at 101, and it's probably a very psychological resistance point, you know, at or near 100, right? You know, 100's been a big deal, right? It was a floor, then they cracked it. Now they're doing a base. I'm just guessing you don't necessarily want to buy resistance, but somebody's going to be taking Litecoin at Christmas. I know I've said that every year for the last 3 years. So my Litecoin broken clock will be right one day. A Litecoin halving is coming up. Interesting. Okay, GLMR. Okay, very similar picture. Okay, it has not made the 13 top and support at 39 cents held. So, you know, one other thing that they need to mention is that, you know, yeah, tax day is coming up, but you don't know if people are selling this stuff to pay their taxes. You don't know, right? You don't know. Okay, Carlos just tuning in. You're never too late. You're never too early. You're right on time. Here's the bottom line. Higher rates could hurt crypto. Okay, higher rates could be coming. Okay, that could mess up stocks because people are pretty complacent in stocks. We, as in crypto people, are okay with that. We are okay with that, but I can see how other people may not be, especially if rates go up and people are thinking 45K in Bitcoin. I'm thinking 45K in Bitcoin. I'm just wondering if it doesn't go sideways first. That's all. Right. In other words, the question is, do you have to FOMO in? And I think with what I'm looking at on interest rates and some of that analysis I did, you know, using outside the box Gann work of the Fed, okay, sticking to its guns. Okay. Miguel is asking about DeFi summer. Okay. Could we have altcoin summer? Yeah, you could have an altcoin rally in May. Okay. I don't know about July yet, but I'm assuming if it gets hammered in June, that might be the opportunity for July. Now, again, let's just keep this in mind. Don't get crazy buying altcoins when they're up. Don't buy green, right? Buy red. It's paid. Like, for example, this is back to GLMR, right? It's paid to buy it when it's down. Like if you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red candles, that's been the dip. If you've bought any of these things after 5 green up days, you have gotten hosed. You have gotten hosed. And this is with Bitcoin going up all year. Now, yes, off the FTX bottoms at 32 cents. Yeah, it paid to buy green, but it hasn't since then. Okay. Okay. Steve J says the sentiment of people wanting lower prices indicated most people's bags are light and 10K is not coming. I agree. Too many people need to buy Bitcoin for it really to go lower. Rose headed for the 9 top, but the dip could be today. Okay, just looking at a 90-minute DeMark chart for variety. You know, it looks like the corrective activity has been done, and it's just trying to go sideways. I don't think you have to pay up for anything right this second. I don't. But I also don't think you have to like lose your mind and panic sell either. Okay, so the old ceiling in Rose was at 70 cents, and you may pop back down there. Okay, near. Okay, interesting rally in near, but it still looks like it's in corrective mode to me. You know, and there's a lot of resistance here at 233. So I'm not really into buying resistance. I don't think this is a terrible chart, but buying resistance in front of like a 9 top, let the 9 top come, let the dip happen, then figure that out. Okay. Okay, decentralized social. Okay, no sign of stopping. Matter of fact, it looks like it's just getting started. So this decentralized theme of social media maybe just getting started. Okay, it took out a key resistance at 14.19. You know, it never pays to buy God candles on anything traded on Coinbase, but I get it. You know, this is a pretty big base, right? With, you know, the old high being 25 and it just looks like a big U-shaped bottom. I just don't know if I want to buy the God candle, but I get why somebody would like this. Okay. Higher rates. A pause in the second half of April. So like buying early May, selling late May. The Eclipse, yeah, it's been great for Bitcoin, 100% returns, but that's in with the new. The out with the old is problems in legacy. I'm headed over to Debate Crypto. I'm not sure if you're going to be auto-directed or not, but we will see you either on Debate Crypto or on Thursday.